All right, you guys, welcome back. Excited for this week. This is somebody that actually like found us, reached out to us, gave us all our info. Obviously, me and Delancey, we're like looking at all of it, like because we want, we always want to like make sure that, it's somebody that we want to bring on. And of course it was. So we're good. And she actually, we don't know tons about her. So I don't have like a super heavy intro. She found us on Instagram, messaged us there. And so we're excited to learn more about her. The few things that we both know is that like she'll share more, obviously. Infertility has played in her story, writing books has played in her story, and adoption is obviously played in her story because that's where she's at now. So we will go ahead. We have Leeann on with us, and I will go ahead and turn the time over to her so you guys can also learn about her as we learn about her. So go ahead. The floor is yours.
All right. Hey, well, thanks for taking a chance on me. Hope I don't let you down here. Um, so, just by way of very simple, brief introduction, my journey to motherhood started with an infertility diagnosis, like you said, early into my marriage, which then led to God just really opening my eyes and opening my heart to something I would have never chosen on my own, but am so thankful that that's where He led us. Um, and we can get into it in more detail about how, each boy was added to our family. But my husband and I have been married for, it will be 11 years this August. We have four boys. The oldest two we adopted at birth. They were both domestic infant adoptions. And then our youngest two came by complete surprise pregnancies. Um, very much surprise pregnancies, I will say. So we have 6-year old, 4-year old, 2-year old, and 1-year old. So they're also super close in age.
Oh,
So
wow. Yeah.
that's fun. So our,
You
our
were
house is
busy.
not quiet.
Mhm.
Yeah. um and then so I did write two books about our journey through adoption. I give 100% of my proceeds to waiting families. Um, the first one, Sowing in Tears, A Mother's Sorrow in Infertility and Joy in Adoption, is really pretty self-explanatory in the title, but I just wanted to remember all the ways that God had blessed us in leading our family together. And I remember starting that book as just a spiral bound notebook. And I was just scribbling down all the ways that God was working because I didn't want to forget them. And I wanted my son to know all God did for our family in that time and for him specifically. So I'm very real and raw and very transparent about the hopelessness I felt in the trenches of infertility, but then just what God did and the joy that He brought through that. And then shortly after I published the first book, God just kept adding to our family. And my mama heart could not let my other babies be left out. And I felt like they needed their stories to be shared too. So, Sowing in Tears, we had a disrupted match. We obviously our second adoption, the pregnancies, and kind of just the overall theme of how our suffering does not have to be wasted and how we can see the beauty amidst the brokenness of our life. So that's a very simple introduction, but kind of at least a little background about me, who I am. And
No,
so, yeah.
no, I love it. No, I love it.
Yeah.
Delancey, do you have anything before we just have her dive into how? Okay,
I'm
perfect.
ready for the swan dive.
Just take a deep dive. All right.
Go
So
for it.
let's go. Start with number one. So, like I said, we did struggle with infertility. We never went as far as IVF, but we did basically, you name it, we did it everything before that. So, medications, cycles of IUI, injections. Um, and ironically, they told me that I came to them with the best problem, easiest problem. It would be very easily fixed, easy to get pregnant. Um, and month after month, I just kept reading negative pregnancy tests. And it was just a season of real hopelessness. And that's honestly why I am so vulnerable and transparent in my first book, because I feel like at least, over 6 years ago when I was going through that, it was not talked about. It is more so now, I say, but um, it just was I just felt so alone in that time. And there was no one that, I felt like I was doing this alone. And obviously I had my husband, but um, it was just a feeling that is really hard to explain unless you've gone through it. So that's why I'm so open about that in my first book.
Can I
Yeah.
ask who said it would be easy?
The fertility people. That was like one of the first thing they said. Oh, this is great. This will be super easily fit. I don't know. Whatever problem I had was apparently a very simple one,
like
but
doctors
apparently
just
not
give
a very simple one.
Right.
Yeah, doctors give themselves too much credit sometimes.
Yeah.
Like calm down.
That
You're not God. Calm down.
that bothers me because it gives like people a false sense of hope too.
It was a lot of false hope
Yeah.
because I kept thinking month after
it's
month,
not like
you
that.
know, I'm like, oh, this is definitely going to work. So you'd just
Right.
build up so much hope, and then it would just be devastating, and then you'd have to go through the whole cycle all over again. So,
Oh goodness, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry, I had to ask. Go
that's
ahead.
right. That's right.
Ugh.
I'm over it now. But I was, we're way past that. We're into the joy world now, so we're good.
Good.
But no, I was driving to one of my many infertility appointments, and a couple was being interviewed on the radio, and they were sharing their adoption story. And I just remembered that being the moment where I was just broken. And I'm talking like uncontrollable tears, mascara running down my face, looking like a hot mess. And it was just in that moment that adoption had never been on my radar. It wasn't something that even my husband and I had talked about early in our marriage, you know, like maybe we could do this one day. We didn't have family who had done it, friends. It was just not even in my thoughts. And I just remember in that moment saying, wow, I'm going to adopt. And I didn't even want to go into that appointment, honestly. And I'm a cheapskate. So I knew probably if I canceled the appointment, it was an issue. I'd have to pay money for it. I'm like, so I might as well just walk in. I'm here anyway. So we'll get the fast food napkins out of the glove box and just try to fix my face a little bit here. But ironically, in that appointment, I was given the best results that I had ever had. My numbers, I couldn't tell you what any of them are right now, but biology would say you would become pregnant that month, you know? And I just remember smiling and knowing inside that no, this is not my month. I'm not going to get pregnant. And it's not because I was being a pessimist at all. I knew in that moment that God was, I had spent these years prior I was praying selfishly, and God just decided to bless mercifully. That's the only way I can put it. I just feel like my walls came down, and it was just finally I was starting to let go of what I envisioned. You know, I wanted to do it this way. I wanted to become a mom this way. I had a great plan. Like, why aren't you listening to me, God? I've got this. Like, and finally it was like, no, I don't have this. He has this, and he's had this all along. If I would have just smartened up and listened to him, you know, the first time. So it just takes me a little bit of time sometimes. I'm kind of slow to the game.
I don't think it's just you. I think
it was exciting because yeah, probably. Well, thanks. That's
it's like
for
no,
sure
it really
sure
is.
in that group, so
yeah.
It really is.
Yeah,
we all have we have a plan.
It's just funny how we think. Yes.
Yeah, we have a plan. And like we have a plan. If we do point A, we're C, we'll get to C. And then God's like, excuse me, you will not.
It's true. It's so true.
Right.
So nope.
Yeah. And that is true of me. I'm such a planner. So it's like I had it all figured out.
Right.
Yeah. No, you're good. You're good. So it was exciting because we were on board. My husband was on board for adoption way before I was. Like he was never like a reason that we would have had to wait. So it didn't take much for to convince him. I didn't have to convince him. So quick Google search, head underwater, like way too much information overload. So we did, I mean, long story short, obviously, like when we found that agency, we were on it with the paperwork. They gave us something to do. We'd get it back within 24 hours, 48 at most. And I was probably a super annoying client for them going through it just because I just would keep emailing. Do you need anything else from me? Do you have everything? You got it? And so After only 16 days of us being officially cleared through our agency, we got the call. So I tell people I had 22 hours and 19 minutes from the time that I knew there was a possibility of this family choosing us until the time I held my little 5-pound Tina's blessing in the NICU. I mean, he's amazing, one of the greatest blessings that we could have ever, and how he came to be. So very fast. We had nothing. Like we had nothing. We were told, 1 to 3 years of waiting, and now it's happening in 16 days. And I have no crib, I have no clothes, and no diapers, no car seat, nothing. And God just totally worked through his body, because I mean, people were giving us blessing after blessing. And I've heard so many stories of that since ours. I'm not unique to that happening, and it's like, it's just so awesome to see people come together in that time, because it was only through everybody else. Because when I say we had nothing, we truly had nothing. So we truly had nothing, not very prepared.
That's crazy.
Our hearts were ready.
Yeah.
Our
it's crazy how
not.
God works. Like,
yes,
that's insane.
It is. Yeah.
He's like, okay, I told you it was coming. Wham, bam, here you go.
No, you're right. It's like,
that's amazing. It's amazing.
I called you to this, and I'll see you through it, and watch how it works. And that's awesome. Another reason the book came, because I would just scribble down all these things. It's just like amazing, all the ways that he worked and showed himself faithful in that. So
that's awesome. I love that. That's wonderful. Okay, continue.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, no, you're good. So we were obviously just so blessed by adoption. We knew we wanted to do it again. When our oldest was probably about 1.5 years, we started the adoption process again. This time we went with a local attorney instead of an agency, so slightly different. And around the time that we were working on getting paperwork done and sent in for that adoption, I got the surprise news that I was pregnant, and went in for my first appointment to find out that we had lost the baby very early on. And at the time, so because of that, we hadn't stopped this adoption process. And a couple months after that miscarriage, we got a call saying that a mother had chosen us. She was going into labor, and that we should head to the hospital right away. And so that began 3 days of waiting. And the first day was all in the hospital. We were there all day long, waiting and praying in the hospital. And then the next 2 days, we were waiting and praying at our home. And it all was very minimal communication. So we were pretty much in the dark about everything, weren't really sure what was going on, because, 3 days ago she was in labor. She's probably not still in labor anymore, I'm guessing. I don't know. I haven't been pregnant before, but I'm guessing that that's not the case. And so it was just everything was very uncertain. And we found out that she had changed her mind and decided to parent her baby. And hindsight's 2020, right? So like in the moment, I'm not going to pretend like I saw these two things as blessings and rainbows and butterflies, because it was a very hard and dark time. But it's neat now looking back, because I can see the way God was just kind of working behind the scenes there. So we later found out that this mom had told no one of her pregnancy. So for those 9 months, no one knew. This was her first pregnancy. And so I can't, like, now having gone through pregnancies of my own, like, I can't imagine not having anyone to call or text. And then especially when you're going into labor, are you really going into labor? Am I not? I need to bounce this off of somebody else. Can someone drive me to the hospital? Like, she had nobody.
Like, Did she
Yeah.
isolate herself? Like, how did nobody
I was
know?
about to say how though. Like I don't.
Did she work from
I,
home? Like,
I feel like I would notice that if somebody I worked with.
Well, I don't know. I mean, possibly like that, like at least her family, I know, did not know. Like her own mother did not know.
okay.
Anybody else? I mean, maybe she
Maybe
worked from
those
home. I'm really not sure how that went
close to
because,
her.
like I said, we were
Yeah.
pretty much in the dark with most of this.
That's crazy. That's
That's just what we
interesting.
were told, that nobody knew um, about this. So she must have been able to hide it
As I say, or sometimes
pretty
how
well.
people
I
are
don't know.
built, like you can never know that they're pregnant.
That,
You know what I
that's
mean?
true too.
So she
Yeah,
could have been one of
yeah,
those that,
Yeah,
but even
that's
still, I'm
fair.
like,
I didn't think about that part. Yeah.
how? Like, because I know when I'm
I feel
pregnant,
like
you
that's
I
a
like
long
couldn't,
time.
I don't
know.
know. I don't
Yeah,
know. I couldn't
no.
go to those times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
sorry. Anyway, go on.
No. I had the same question. So, um, but yeah, so nobody knew, and it's just neat looking back because, um, I'm losing my train of thought. Sorry. It's just neat looking back
No, it's me.
because God brought us together in a time where she didn't even realize that two, three doors down the hall, my husband and I had been there. We were there all day praying for her son. Um, and without that possibility of knowing her, I would have never known to pray for her. She never would have crossed my path at
Right.
all. I would have had no clue. And I just remember those 3 days, most of my prayers to God were just simple cries out to the Lord. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to pray. It was just tears. But I remember very specifically praying on repeat, God, your will be done. And those 5 words, I just prayed over and over and over. And it's comforting now knowing that his will was done. I didn't pray
Right.
for her to not change her mind or, you know, God, don't let her do this. Let her pick us. Let her pick us. Because that wasn't my prayer to pray. This was her child. And it's comforting now looking back. It brings such peace knowing that his will was done. This boy is with her, with his
Mhm.
mom, um, where he was supposed to be all along. And I was able to pray for this woman who otherwise had nobody. And I just feel like
Right.
it, in a weird way, God brought us together in a time where this lady needed God far more than she needed me. She didn't need me to parent her kid. But she needed her name to be brought before the throne of God, and
Wow.
to be able to pray for her in that. And like I said, I don't want to sound like this super amazing person who had all these thoughts like in the moment, because in the moment it was mostly just tears. It's taken a
Yeah.
lot of years to look back at this and say, God, you were really working in that time of
Yeah.
brokenness. And that's just a big part of my testimony, finding God's beauty amidst the brokenness. And I just think that's a big, big place. 7 days after that, literally just a week after she changed her mind, we were matched with our second boy. So it
Wow.
all came super fast. And I just think, like, looking back, if the miscarriage didn't happen, if this disrupted match didn't happen, our timeline would have just been slightly off, and I would have never known my boy. And so it's just a real blessing to look back and see that, you know.
That's awesome.
Um, so so yeah. I don't really know what to say about my youngest two. Boy, they were a surprise. I mean, I just after our second one, we were like literally we were about to start the fostering process. Like that's how much
Wow.
pregnancy wasn't even,
Right.
like, I had just chucked that idea out the window. And I wasn't sad about it either. I was just like, that's just not how I'm gonna become a mom, and that's fine. This is great. This is awesome. This is my heart's desire now. This is what I'm chasing after. And so our third was a COVID baby, and our fourth came 15, they're only 15 months apart. So
Wow.
they're super close in age.
Wow.
So yeah, they were just complete surprises and such blessed. I mean, obviously we can't picture our life without them either. It's
Do
just
they
funny. how God works.
Do they call that Irish twins when they're that close? Don't they call them something
Somebody
like
asked
that?
me that when they were born, and I didn't never heard that term before. And I think
Really?
I don't.
Really?
No, I hadn't. No, I know. I don't know.
I feel like that's right. I think it's between like 13 and 16
No, it
months or
is.
something
Yeah.
like
No,
that.
it is because
I
yeah.
feel like it is because you're just going.
Yeah.
You've really never heard that term?
No, I haven't. Well, now I have, but no. Before that, I hadn't. I was like, what? What's that? Nope.
She's like, what do you mean? We're not Irish.
Yeah, I know.
I did the DNA test and everything. No
Yeah,
Irish.
23andMe. I got it.
That's so funny.
But yeah.
No.
So, I mean, I don't know what else to say about at least those. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I do have a question because I know with some people,
yeah,
this is I don't know if it's because me like adopted and just like how I think it's like such a great blessing and those kinds of things, but I know some people get really bent out of shape when they have gone through infertility and they have adopted and then they finally do get pregnant. And people get offended when they say something. I'm trying to think. And I only say this because I know my sister used to get offended all the time because it took her forever to get pregnant. Well, you needed to bring these babies into your family before you got pregnant. And it would make her so mad. Mind you, my sister's not really with God right now, but I feel like that. So how do you feel about that?
Say that.
What?
Or like when people say, see, I knew that would happen. Like once you adopt, you're going to get pregnant, that along the same
lines. That one is annoying. I don't like that one.
No. So weird though. That's a really, really weird thing to say. Am I the only one that thinks that's a weird thing to say?
No.
I don't have kids. I don't know. Is that normal? Because I feel like that's not normal.
No.
You had to adopt in order to get pregnant or like any semblance of that's not how God works.
Let us know how you really feel.
She will. She will.
I'm just saying. I will. Like I don't get that. Like I do not understand. And I don't understand when I'm like, at what point in time, seriously, is Audacity on sale all the time for people to say things like this? Like it just
So my question is, have you had people say that to you? And if so, how do you feel about it? How do you react about it? That's what I kind of wanted to get at. Because I don't know that I've ever really asked anybody.
No, I don't like it either. And I actually was really scared after adopting our oldest. I was actually scared to get pregnant. Not because I thought I would, because I really thought, I guess it's not going to happen. We've tried all these years. I thought I had an easy problem that was going to be fixed, and we still can't fix it. So I don't think it's going to happen anyway, but just in case, I don't want to get pregnant. I was actually really scared. But my reasoning was because I never wanted anyone to think that my son's life was somehow a means to an end. I don't know if that makes sense, but like that, we adopted him just like I said earlier, because it was a second best option. It's like, I'm not going to tell people it's a second best option, but I really wish I could get pregnant. I never wanted people to even for that to even cross their mind. So I was genuinely, I actually was fearful of becoming pregnant and hearing those comments. And then when I actually did get pregnant, I did hear those comments a lot. And I would just try to, as politely as I could, I don't even remember how I would phrase it. Sometimes I would just like, I don't have the energy for this. I'm just going to smile and be like, I can't believe you just said that. But I don't even know how to answer you right now. But it's like, oh yeah, we get those. I still get those comments. See, I told you, man, I see it all the time. If you just, once you adopt, you're going to get pregnant. And it's just,
see, I hate that one too. That one's vile.
Yeah.
Like that one's vile to where it's like, well, if you just adopt, it'll happen. No, we are talking about babies. It doesn't matter what shape or form they come. They are babies.
No. Yes, I know. Yeah, it's just I feel like it almost cheapens the adoption.
Exactly.
And I didn't want him to ever, I didn't want his life to look as something that was somehow cheapened. I don't know if that makes sense, but
I love that. And I think it's great.
It makes sense. Yeah, I think that's the perfect way to explain that because
Yeah.
it's definitely one of those things of it's
No, I
I don't think
agree.
they intend for it to sound
Yeah.
like that's what they're doing
Yeah.
when they first say it, but if they double down and say it again,
Yeah. Yeah.
Lord,
Yeah.
just
It's true. It's so true.
Yeah.
Okay. I
Yeah.
honestly don't think I've ever asked anybody that we've had come on.
Yeah,
And
no,
I know
that's
we've
a great
had people
question.
come on that have had
Mhm.
infertility, but it just clicked when I'm like, oh, my sister. And it made, because it did. Because it's like, it doesn't matter how the baby came. Like, it's my baby.
Right.
It doesn't
Right.
matter. Like,
Right.
that's God wasn't saying you have to adopt first and then you can get pregnant. No, like, it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, so,
right.
Yeah.
okay.
Right.
Anyways, sorry.
So,
Yeah, go
again,
ahead.
not how God works. Not
Yeah,
how God
exactly.
So
works.
Yeah.
You should meet him. You should meet him.
You need to know
Learn how
him.
he
Yeah.
works. You need to know him. That's how you should answer it. It's not
Yeah.
how God works. Maybe you should introduce yourself.
Oh man.
This is why I can't. This is why I can't be involved in these conversations. I'm too sassy. I'm too sassy.
I love it. I
We
love
might
it.
need maybe I need a little of your sass.
I love it. Anyway, so okay, do you have any open closed how it does this work with your boys that you have both boys, right?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Okay.
Yes. Yep,
Okay.
both boys. So both our adoptions are technically open. Open in the fact that we've kind of left the ball in their court, so to speak, on, how much they're comfortable with reaching out. So there has been communication from both boys' birth families since their birth, but honestly, not as much as I would want. And I pray, one day there will be more of a relationship there, especially for my boys, selfishly for me too, because I kind of, had visions of that too in my own thoughts for that. But right now we're just kind of trusting that, God's ways are better than ours. And if and when he wants to open those doors, then he will. He doesn't need my help to do that, obviously. But I guess practically speaking, we just try to speak of them in our home as any other family member. We pray for them. I do have very few pictures, but the few pictures that I have, we've made part of our home decor. So they're on frames on the wall or on shelves, just like our little family of 6. Our oldest 2 and myself, we just finished making this family portrait. I'll give a shout out to Target because they had this super cute kit. It was like these foam people. I guess it was foam. I don't know what material it was made out of, but they had accurate skin shades. They had hair types. They had clothes, shoes, accessories, and you basically like glue it all together and create your people, whatever you want. So my boys created our whole family, including their birth parents and birth families. And then we glued it all together in this big poster and framed it and put it on the wall. So it's a really big picture because there was a lot of people to put in on that picture. But
that's awesome.
But that's just one way, we try to include them in our home, even though there is minimal, communication. We still just try to focus on the positives as much as we can and just pray if God opens those doors that he would. And
no, I think that's wonderful. Like it's already a step ahead for your kids. So if they like, you know what I mean? Because I feel open adoption is so cool. Yeah. Like it's always known. And I know with me and Delancey, both ours were closed, but we always knew. Like we always knew about those things and always as much information as our parents had. And so I think that's great, so they'll always know, hey, mom cares and mom wants us to know. And we now that we're even older, we now understand it's in their court on if they want to, obviously the older they get, they can make more contact too when they're 18 or whatever, but you know what I mean? So I think that's great. I think you're doing a wonderful job. Like, it's awesome.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
I actually have a follow-up question on that. I think you said it. I was taking notes. I've been taking notes and I may have blipped out for like a split second, but how much of the story of your kids' biologicals did you know prior to the adoption and even after? Because I know you said like if the ball's in their court to reach back out, do you know like the journey that they were on?
So it's different.
Placing them?
Yeah, different for both ours, obviously. Our oldest, they were, that's the one we have basically the least amount of information on. Like they knew when we were in the hospital that we were ready to meet them if they wanted to. They chose not to. I heard from them after birth one time, and that was pretty much it. So we were not given very much either. All I was told when he was born was mother had no prenatal care. The baby's in the NICU. But I mean, he was doing great. They said that he would be in there for a few weeks. He was in there for 10 days, in and out.
wow.
So, but I just had very minimal information on his. Now, our second, we actually met his birth mom while she was pregnant, went out to dinner with her, her grandmother, her aunt. When I went into the hospital, I wasn't there for the birth, but like a couple hours after, I'm in the hospital room with her grandmother, her aunt again.
Wow.
And just had some sweet time with her. So she was one that I thought was going, this might grow into something more. And it still, I mean, it very well still could. We met them when Jackson was probably a year old. We had one more get together in person with her too. And we try to keep the doors open with like texting here and there for her. Like I'll text her on birthdays or, when he first took his first steps, other than my husband, she was the very next person I texted the video to. So
a option to be involved, just because I know we did an episode, I don't remember what number, for Donald, and like that's the
yes.
only biological dad that we've had on, but I'm always curious where the biological dads fall in this.
Yeah.
And
I thought that was a
whether it's
great
like an
interview,
first.
by the way, that you
He's
did with him.
fantastic.
Well, I started listening to your most recent one with him. And as I'm listening to it, one of you said, if you haven't listened to the first one, you need to go back and do that. I was like,
Yeah, go back and listen.
I didn't know he was here before then. Now I pause this and forget that I heard everything. I was like, no wonder I'm not understanding who these people are. And so
we should have led with a warning. Warning.
Oh, well, we got it.
Episode.
So I went back and listened. No, but I think that that's a really good point. Like, I think that was a phenomenal episode that you guys did. And so our one we know of who was in the picture and involved, and then the other, no, I have zero information on. So which just makes it really eye-opening, like you said, the interview that you did with him, because it's like you don't hear from the birth father's perspective, like ever. It's all about right. birth mother, right. And
always about the biological mom every single time.
For sure.
Yeah. So,
which is always interesting, because now that I think about it, because there are podcasts out there by adoptees, there are podcasts out there about biological mothers, but none of them are from biological fathers or adoptive fathers. True. Dads are people too, guys.
Yeah.
We need to find more. We need to find another.
No, you do.
Because really I more.
I thought that was an incredible, like, that was probably my favorite one that I've listened to. I mean,
no, but it's true.
Honestly, it was just really,
yeah, because you don't hear from him. And obviously, with his situation, it was, happy to where he was reunified with his son. But then, I mean, if you listen to it, he still kept that adoptive family in his life. And to this day, they're still in there, and so
still in contact.
It shows his heart. Like it shows the type of human that he is, which is so amazing. Anyway.
And look at all the unnecessary hoops that he had to jump through just to be able to do what he was literally like helped to make this child. And
exactly,
he's having to do stuff that, anyway.
He essentially had to do a circus performance in order to it,
Yeah.
which it's almost like it makes sense, but it doesn't make sense at the same time. Like I get it, but I don't get it. So
yeah.
where are you? Come here. Sorry. Pocket wants to join the conversation per usual. Oh, goodness gracious.
Okay, I'm going to preface this real quick. My internet's being a little on this side. So, like, I apologize when we reback this. Oh, shoot. See, like, I think it's doing it right now. So, people that are listening to me.
That's what that means. You froze right on that.
Yeah. I was going to say, so it did it. So, if there's bits and pieces, Leeann, when we go back on this, I apologize. I think it got most of it. You're kind of skipping, but just the listeners too. I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on with this. I tell Delancey every time before we start, I kick everybody off the internet. So I'm so sorry if it's like, because I usually will text my husband and he's like, everybody's off of it. Nobody's off of it because you'll kill us all. Like, okay, not really, but you know what I mean.
Your husband's always so good about making sure everybody stays off the internet.
Oh, he is, because he knows I will come out there and storm after if not. It will rain down. Anyway, okay, so sorry. So that's why I'm kind of like looking at my phone because I'm like, no, it's on it. Anyway, I apologize. I apologize. Anyway, so I don't know. Where were we at? We were talking about birth dads, all those kinds of things. Delancey, you asked her about that. She answered that, got into Donald. Okay. Were you talking about anything? Oh my gosh. Am I there? Okay. Sorry. My face is kind of freezing.
You're there. This is kind of fun for me. Keep going.
No, there were more questions.
We were talking about birth dads. We talked about that. Pocket freaked out, had a meltdown.
Oh, let me ask this for people who like don't follow you or you are your babies the same race as you, or are they a different race? I mean, obviously.
That's a good one.
Yeah, they are different.
Okay, I was gonna say I know, but
yes, we are a transracial family. So our oldest two are not Caucasian like me, African American, and then obviously the pregnancies at the end. So we do not look alike, our family. And it's just,
I love it.
I really feel like I'm the least adequate person to even speak on transracial adoptions. But if I've, over the past 6 years, if I've done one thing right, I feel like it's acknowledged that I can't stop learning. And I feel like people like you are just great examples of just sharing your story and being vulnerable and letting people like me in and listening to them. I just feel like I've grown a lot just listening to adult adoptees. And 6 years ago, I didn't even know that was a thing to do, or like, how do I find these people? And it's just so readily available now, like social media, you can find it anywhere. And it's just, I think that's really been transformative in our family, just being able to listen and hear their stories and just realize that, I got a lot to learn, and I just got to keep learning. And I can't hit like, I've learned it all. I just got to keep listening, keep learning. And
no, I love that. And I think that's something, at least I can't really speak for Delancey, but I think that's one of the reasons we love doing these things is because we learn something new, whether it's just me and her bouncing off of each other, or if it's with a guest. We always, every single episode, we learn something new. And Delancey even like says it too. She's like, if you're not learning, how are you going to grow? If you're not challenging yourself, how are you going to grow? And so I love that, because you are a step of the game with those babies, even though you said, you may not feel like but you're doing things right there, mama. Like, give yourself some credit by wanting to learn and have an open heart. That's already huge. That's huge. Is just being a parent to like, what can I do to better my babies? So I love that so much. That's going to be the quote.
And just remember too, you always, it's like when we told Joy, you always have a seat at the table. Always.
Yeah.
You opened your heart to be a part of this community, and you are proactively learning and growing and developing within this community. So you will always have a seat at the table to speak on your experience and to listen to others with their experience. And then that's how we all learn from each other. We don't learn from each other by like, I don't learn from other people. I mean, just like constantly just talking to a mirror. Like Milena said, every episode we've learned something. And it's just, I'm with Milena. I think you should give yourself a little more credit, because like, you're still early into the game with your children.
Yeah.
I mean, like with just your children as being a parent,
Yeah.
Like you're very early into the game. But you're gonna be a parent. You're gonna have those teenage years. It's gonna be
Oh
those
boy, yeah.
mistakes. It's gonna be so much fun. But that would happen with adoption or not.
Right.
And that's what a lot of people seem to forget, is that teenagers are teenagers,
Mm-hmm.
no matter the situation.
Yeah.
So
No, you're right. You're right.
enjoy the cuddles and snuggles now.
Oh, I know.
Because it's
I
fun.
know.
Mine's not quite there. She's getting there, but ooh, she's gonna be.
Let's say at some point, the kid becomes too cool.
Yeah.
We all went through that. We're too cool for snuggles with our parents.
Oh, I know.
I hope not.
They're also close in age too, so they're gonna get too cool at like the same time, and I'm gonna be like, "Oh, this is so terrible."
Oh yeah, I didn't even think of that. They're so close.
I know, they're so close.
No, and if they're anything like my nieces and nephews, one's like 13 and the other two are 12. They're about to be 12. Lord. 1 minute they are cool and laughing and joking, and the next minute it's like WrestleMania cage match pay-per-view. And then they're back to being cool. And I'm just going, I don't understand what just happened.
What just happened? Yeah.
What just happened? And they're all biological.
Oh yeah.
So.
Well, you're giving me great hope. Thanks.
Well, I will give you this other hope. No, they all doted on me because I'm younger. I'm younger by like a lot. In our family, because there's 2 biological, 2 adopted in our family, but it's reverse order. It's very similar to yours, but we're reverse order with that.
Yes.
The 2 biologicals are first, and then my third sister, who was adopted, and then 10 years after her, I was adopted. So those 3 may have had their moments as siblings, but like they all doted on me.
Yeah, right.
I was their practice kid. So
yeah, that's right. That's true. Yeah, that's a big gap.
It's a huge gap, but I really do. You're doing the right thing. You're doing a lot of things that are right. That the open communication with your kids is what's so important, and that's what Milena and I've talked about so many times. Who was it that you talked about, Milena, that said that they asked you what age to tell their child they're adopted, or something to that effect?
My therapist of all people asked me that, because she had adoptive parents coming to her, and she's like, they were asking me, and I'm like, what? No. And so like, she wasn't specifically like an adoptive therapist, because that's not what I was going to her for. I'll preface that right now. Not adoption. It was other stuff. Okay. And so when she told me that, I was like, it should always be known, because like there are too many things that I just can't.
So weird.
Yeah. Can you imagine the trust?
Man,
even like with your own parents, if they kept something from you, like just the trust.
Right.
Man.
Yeah.
Your own parents, that came out wrong.
But I thought my parents broke my trust when. Yeah. No, it's one of those things of like, you're talking about that, like breaking the trust. I mean, heck, you were with me. We were on the phone or something when I found out a piece of information, and I was like, what the crap? And my mom was like, it's not that big of a deal. And I was like, it's a big deal to me. And she goes, it's not the end of the world. The whole family knew about it. I was like, I didn't.
Exactly. It was me.
Me.
Who it involves.
The one that was about did not know. And I'm closer to 40 than not. And I still got like, not mad about it, but like insulted that everyone knew. But so yeah. But very big open communication, just throwing that out there.
Well, it's funny because, when we first, at least 6 years ago, when we first started with adoption, you're going to hear everybody's horror stories about who aren't even like touched by adoption. Even they've just heard random stories. And they're like, oh, you got to be so careful.
Right? You hear that? She is solidifying what we said on a previous episode. She's solidifying it.
Sorry.
No, and they
literally said that.
Yeah.
Keep going.
And no, I mean, and they're just like, you got to be so careful. They're going to come back for the kid and everything. I'm like, I don't even know where to start with that conversation. And I really am thankful. Like in the time with our adoptions, it's like so frustrating sometimes to think of how much paperwork you have to do and like education hours and stuff. But I will say, like, I'm really glad that we had to, because if it opened my eyes to one thing, it was the whole birth parent relationship. Because I didn't know what to think at first. I kind of just assumed originally, like, oh, I guess you just have closed adoptions. That's what everybody's saying. So I guess that's what you do. And thankfully, before we even, really, really started and like turned in paperwork, we realized that no, like that it's the opposite. Like, look, I mean, and it was just so much, you were hearing so many negative things about the birth family side, the birth mother side. It was just mind blowing to me the more that I researched and read and learned about it. And so that's why when I was talking about the open adoption, like selfishly for me, I would like our relationship to be more. I had visions of, what it would look like for us to be together as a family, because they are an extended part of our family. And so it's almost like a part of me is, it's not like it is, it's like broken and waiting for what that can look like, I don't know, with them. So yeah, I don't know how we got off on that tangent, but yes, the horror stories are not true. I don't know where they came from and where I don't know.
Lifetime.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, true.
Lifetime.
There you go. There you go. All those
Lifetime 1980s movies that had like
even like the hard, really traumatic.
Melanie,
Am
you
I
froze for a second.
Am I
there you
good?
are. You're back.
Okay. I was gonna say
you froze for like a split second. What'd you say? There you are.
Even like adoptees who do have traumatic stories, it really drives me crazy, because that's not every adoptee's story. And so that's why I think it's good to listen to all of them. I mean, I know with me and Delancey, I can't speak for her, but it really hurts my heart and sometimes really frustrates the hell out of me when I hear these adoptees, because I'm like, you cannot speak for everyone. And it is not a bad thing that I love adoption and I love my parents and I love my birth family. Like, it's not a bad thing. Every story is different. Everybody's going to have bits and pieces that they love and they don't love about their stories. You know what I mean? But it's like, not one adoptee can speak for all adoptees. And so that's where it's like, listen to everybody, take it with a grain of salt. I know there are some happier stories than than others. It's just like how life is with
everything. Yeah.
So anyway,
I mean, it's just like if you're learning, and this is going to be kind of a parallel, I guess, but it's just like if you're learning something in history class, not everything that happened in history is all sunshine and rainbows and unicorns and sparkle. Like sometimes certain things just suck.
Yeah.
And there's no other way around it. But in the words of a friend of mine, sometimes you have to embrace the suck in order to change your perspective and move forward.
Yeah.
And I'm with Milena. It's like, it bothers me when people choose to sit in their misery and try to pull others in with them, when it's kind of like, don't silence or like take away from my story just because I'm not screaming from the rooftops that I've had a tragic, every day and oh, woe is me and blah, 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 all these other things. Have I had some difficulties? Absolutely. Did that actually happen later in life as an adult with certain aspects of being adopted? Yes. Yepperoonie, it certainly did. And I'm very thankful for that, because I had the emotional capacity
to handle it.
Because I was blessed with parents that protected me from certain aspects, or in another way equipped me to handle certain aspects. Is everybody the same? Absolutely not. Does everybody have that opportunity? No, they do not. And I pray for those people all the time, but none of us did it to them. You know what I mean? We didn't do that to you.
Right.
Don't So again, listening to everybody's story, it's like learning stories from history class. The only way to be better is to listen to them, take what you can from information. But it is amazing to me how the people who have zero experience with adoption have the most to say about it.
It's true.
Like,
it's true.
That's what you're like, oh, well, who did you adopt? I didn't. Okay. Who in your family adopted? They didn't. But I heard from my neighbors, cousins, friends, second grade teachers, boyfriend, that it was a bad experience.
Yeah. Anyway.
And I think along with what you were talking about, I think a popular thing to claim right now is the both and instead of the either or. So I'm sure listeners know, but if they don't know, it's like adoption is both, joy and sorrow, or it's happy and sad. You can't have one without the other. And I agree with that. But what I think a lot of people are more focusing on is more of the negative aspects of it. And the whole point of the both and is that you have sorrow and you have joy. So they're like focusing on the negative part of it, but they're forgetting to point to the beauty that they say you can have both. It is both. They say you can't have the either or. But a lot, and I don't want to say, I don't want to make a blanket statement. It's not everybody. It's just the people who are talking loudest, who are doing that. But the loudest people are focusing, it seems, more so on that negative. It just reminded me about that when you were talking about
you're 100% correct. 100%, because right now the sorrow, the anger, the sadness, that gets more likes.
Right.
It gets more likes. It gets you more notoriety, and
views,
people
followers.
can come from me, views, followers. And where we are as a society is we put so much stock in being an influencer. What are you influencing exactly? Like, it's not, you're basically manipulating people to view like you when you may not even feel that way. You just want to get the likes, the followers, all this, that, and the other. It's just, I don't know. I try to take it with a grain of salt, but there's just so many of them out there right now, and they're all so loud. And it's just like, at some point that the fad is going to end. And then those of us who are genuinely telling our stories will still be here. That's the only hope that I have for all of it, because at some point the anti-adoption trend's got to go away. It just has to. I don't know when, but it will.
Anyway, welcome to our show. Leeann, you already know this. We go off on lots of tangents.
It's
just how we
like my soapboxes. My soapboxes are fun.
No,
I'm gonna start bedazzling them.
Anything else that you specifically want to add? I mean, about your story with your boys or your books or anything like that? I think you've already, for me, you've covered so much beautifully. But what else? I mean, there's probably more nuggets if you have any that you could share with us.
I don't know. We kind of hit on, I guess, each and more that I wasn't even planning on hitting on, I guess. So, I mean, I think we covered a lot. I don't know. Unless you have questions, I'm an open book.
Ask her the question. Ask her the question.
Just the follow-up question? Is that what you're asking?
A question?
That I asked already. Okay.
Ask her.
The one
ask her.
You've kind of already given so many beautiful nuggets. One in particular that sticks out to me is just keeping your heart open and always learn. But what advice? And one thing I love too that I have to plug in really quick, I love how much your heart was softened to adoption. It's crazy when you do let God in. Wow. Anyway, okay, sorry. That's very that was so powerful the time you were talking about it. What is some advice that you would give, since you're in the adoptive kind of parent genre of this? What advice would you give to anybody who's looking to adopt or is an adoptive parent? What are something you would share?
See, I did my homework, so I was ready for this question. So when she's telling you, ask the question, I was like, I already know it. You don't.
She's like, I already know what it is. I'm ready.
I've listened to my episodes. I know you asked this. I got it. So I have 2 pieces of advice here.
Yay.
No, not really. They're short, but okay. So first one has nothing and everything to do with adoption. So have that make sense for you. I will try to explain. I have never in my life felt like evangelism was one of my spiritual gifts, not even close. Furthest thing of it. I'm getting anxiety thinking about even handing out a track or those people who go door to door. Not me at all. But I feel like our adoption journey has just really given me a unique way to share about the gospel and just how good God is, because it's impossible for me to share our story apart from God's hand in it. So I don't want this to sound
No, we love it.
I don't want this to sound silly.
Preach.
No, we love it.
No.
Go. We love
Love it.
No, so
Love
my first
it.
piece of advice was just going to be, if you don't know Jesus, then you need to find him, because I just don't know how we would have walked through,
Amen.
all the things that I walked through without the hope in Christ. Like I don't know, walking the adoption road without God, and then walking it with God and having that hope, and not even adoption, it's just everything, my entire life. I don't know how I would have gotten through it apart from the hope in Christ. So my first piece of advice was going to be, go find Jesus if you don't know him already.
Gosh.
And if you don't know where to start, holler at me.
I just
say it louder for the people in the back.
That literally gave me chills when you said, if you don't know Jesus, get to know him, because I mean, you've listened to us, you know how faith-based we are. Like we 100% know that God, like, it's amazing. And I'm always so confused when people don't have God in their life, because he makes things so much better. Okay. Anyway, next one.
The next one's more adoption related, I guess, more practical. So I can't count the number of times that prior to becoming a mom, people said, enjoy this time with your husband before the babies come. And I will say, every time I heard that advice went in one ear and out the other just as fast as it entered the first ear. And it was just because, I just loved my husband so much, and I just desired so badly to start a family with him, that I feel like at times that really did just, unfortunately, trump everything else. And now, as a mom, I see what my day looks like and how busy it is. And with 4 boys, 6 and under, most of my energy is just trying to keep them safe from their own created chaos that they put on themselves. And I obviously I love being a mom. There's it's one of the greatest joys of my entire life. But I do think that looking back, I wasted maybe some precious time that I had that was just me and my husband. And I didn't waste away all the years, but I think there are times that I probably did waste away just looking, into the future and what I wanted, and, how I saw my life playing out, and I just wanted it faster. And so I guess my advice would be the advice that I didn't take. And just, so probably people are going to let that go in one ear and out the other, like I did too. But I would just urge you to.
Well,
are you going to?
I mean, not really, because you're encouraging them to be in the moment.
Yeah, right.
Well,
and I think that's definitely good advice.
And I, Leeann, am one of those, because we culturally here, I don't know if it's like there, get married very young. And me and my husband were not with the norms of the culture, and we waited almost 5 years to have to even think about kids. And most people, it's like 6 months or honeymoon baby, or like immediately they're pregnant. But like something in both our hearts was just like, no, because not that it's not great when you're older, because like you saw my youngest walk in here. He's going to be in school full time in the fall. Yeah. And that's like, my kids are all in school. And then but they're still here. And then as they move out, it's still me and him, but there's still so much of me and him and the kids, because then there's college, and then there's getting married and them having their own babies. So I actually love that. Up together. Yeah. And a lot of people probably ignored me, but I said the same thing. I was like, wait to have babies, wait, because me and him did so many fun things. We went to Florida like 5 times. Because my brother worked at Disney World. We went on cruises. We went everywhere. And it's like time.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Yeah.
Because we were both working full time. So it was like, woo, it's not that case now on like one income, but you know what I mean? It's just, it was such a time that neither him or me regret. So like, I mean, I get it. I was one of those people. So I was one of those people that was like, wait, don't have babies.
Yeah.
But it's honestly, it's a whole entire thing though, because it's like culturally in the South, not me, but other people, it's like, get married young. Like women get married between the ages of 19 to 23 traditionally in the South. That's the stereotype down here. That was us.
Yeah.
And it was very
fair.
much one of those things of, I just remember my parents telling me, like, you don't have to rush into that.
Right.
And I'm sitting there going, cool. I took that probably way too seriously. But here we are, which is fine. But at the same time, though, there are more people who are taking their time to figure out who they are.
Right.
And then once they marry their spouse, the person that they're meant to be with, that God has perfectly planned for them, then they're taking the time to get to know each other as a married couple.
Right.
Like, and waiting to have, I think that's more prevalent now than what it used to be.
Right.
At least
Yeah, I agree.
I want to believe that. I
No.
want to believe that that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Now, there are still those people who, God love them, and sorry if any of y'all are listening, but that older generation that are like, you're engaged, like, well, when's the wedding day? When are you gonna start having grandbabies? It's like, let them get
Right.
married first.
Right.
Or
Right.
like, don't you want to be married? Let them chill.
Yeah.
Don't you want a family? Calm down. Like Deborah, leave them alone.
Deborah.
Like, leave them alone. Let them
Rhonda.
enjoy marriage. Let them
It's true.
enjoy figuring out who they are. So I think both of you nailed it perfectly. That people just take your time.
Yeah.
Relax. Take your time.
I mean, once your
But
boys
that's
are
also coming from the single one. So
once your boys do get a little bit older, it is crazy how much like more freedom I say, like, which isn't still freedom it creates, like, because my oldest, like, we're at a point where we can leave her home with my two youngest now while we go out for dinner, and that's like another part of parenthood that's like wow, like wow,
That's
even though
huge.
the kids,
Wow.
but it is huge because like now there's been like this shift now that our kids are older. There's so much more focus put back on our relationship. Does that make sense? And so like our marriage has just even bloomed more. Not that we've ever had like a poopy marriage. Yes, babe, if you're listening, you're welcome. But like, you know what I mean? Like it's just flourished even more. And so it's crazy how like there are different stages. So like, I understand you were looking to the future, and I hope you don't ever beat yourself up for that, because it is what it is.
Yeah.
And I mean,
no, it is what it is.
You'll get there with your husband again, and that'll be awesome. All those things. So anyway, okay. Sorry, we kind of took off on a tangent there. I know it's late where you're at,
no,
so
you're good.
I apologize.
Hey. Yeah, you're lucky I'm not in my pajamas. So a mom of 4 little boys, like I'm in jammies basically when they go to bed. So I'm like, man.
I was gonna say you could have been. That would have been fine.
I could have been. I know.
We don't care. We don't care.
We don't
do not care.
It's very casual.
Yes. Some of the Saturday episodes that I go back and watch, I'm like, wow, Melina, you could have pulled your hair up. You could have done a little something. Because they're earlier in the morning.
That's why I wear a baseball cap all the time. That's why I wear a baseball cap every single time, because
you're rocking it. Hey.
Anyway, all right, Leeann, anything else, or Delancey, anything else you guys want to add? And she's taking a sip of her drink. Sorry. All right. Well, Leeann, thank you so much for coming on. It seriously was such a joy getting to know you, because I mean, there's only so much that we can read and see about you, but getting to meet you face to face and just hearing your story, it's beautiful. And I'm excited to share this and have our listeners, and go follow her. She shares her sweet baby. She shares about her book. Like it's just so awesome. And I know Delancey feels the same way as me, but we're just so forever grateful for like this space that we have, that we can have people like you that can find us and reach out and come on and share your story and help us learn and help us grow. And every day I'm just so blessed. Every Tuesday when I get on to do this with Delancey, I'm just like, how is this my life? I just think it's the coolest thing ever. Like, no, really though, but really though. And it's so,
I've ever had.
It's so awesome. And I've got to stop or else I'm going to start crying. Anyway, so Leeann, thank you.
Thank you guys seriously so much.
You have a new friend in us. So if you ever need anything, please reach out. Know that too about us. We're open books. We're here.
Well, thank you guys.
And we'll reference. I can't even talk. I will link everything. I try really hard to remember in the show notes and everything with your book and all those kinds of things, so people can find it there as well. So
okay, awesome.
Okay,
awesome.
Well,
thank you so much. It was so great talking to you guys.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
All right.